I recorded hours of my Taipei cycling and published it on this channel to share with all of you. As a side effect, I also ended up with a collection of snippets illustrating dangerous or otherwise unexpected situations as they unfold. I want to share these now with the hope it helps you stay safer by knowing what to expect. To be clear, you don't have to go all the way to Taipei to see most of this. Similar stuff happens elsewhere as well, but that's where I was, so that's where the clips are from. It's also not an attempt to single out any individuals. I cycle much more than I record, and I've seen much more and worse. These are just typical examples of what you might encounter reasonably often. And to put things in perspective, cycling on separate paths is almost always pleasant and safe. Cycling a lot in Taiwan, I've only ever suffered a single fall and no other people were involved. More about it at the end of this video. On a general note, since Taipei is densely populated, the best experience is to be had by beating the crowds. That's with regard to anything, not just cycling. Go to lunch at noon and many restaurants will be packed and you will be miserable. Grab lunch at 1 p.m. and you will have the whole place to yourself. The situations I ran into fall into a couple of similar categories, so that's how they're grouped. Let's start with the infrastructure. Moving along the rivers is usually great once you're there. The only problem is getting to and from the riverside and using bridges to cross, since not all of them are perfect for cyclists. Still, occasionally there are places where the path narrows or tends to become congested, sharp and sudden turns with limited visibility, uneven or slippery surface. So, do your homework, make sure you know where you're going. Best of all, watch a video of the route, such as the ones I posted, or use Street View. This can not only save you time and frustration, but also keep you safe. If cycling riverside, know in advance where the best entrance and exit for you is. Look up the evacuation gates called Shusanmen. They let you get in and out like a king. If on a U-bike, know where to pick it up and give it back. Some stations run empty or fill up at certain hours, so have a plan B. A word about the inclined ramps. The signage says, sometimes in Chinese only, that you should not ride there, only walk. Even if most people ignore it, you should be aware of the rule and absolutely give priority to pedestrians, which brings me to my next point. Cycle paths are very often separated from those for pedestrians, but when they are not, according to the common signs in Taipei, pedestrians have right of way. Regardless of the law, it is also a question of courtesy, since it's faster to go around a pedestrian for any particular cyclist than for a pedestrian to constantly yield to bikes passing them at higher speed. Be prepared for pedestrians to make sudden turns. Always give a wide berth when passing, especially if they are children or with children, or as a group. Don't expect they will move to the right or move to the left edge of the path. Consider it random and be prepared for either scenario. You may also encounter four-legged pedestrians. As card-carrying members of the dog tribe, they have the license to run around or stand where they are without yielding. Some of the dogs are stray, but mostly harmless. Don't do something stupid because you get scared by a dog. Remember, a barking dog does not bite. Motor vehicles are not allowed on exclusive cycle paths, but you're still likely to encounter them often. This is referred to as the first riverside paradox. Some vehicles are used for maintenance, so they are there legitimately. Still, it will make little difference at your funeral whether you were hit by a legitimate vehicle or not, so it's not worth it to delve too much into the legitimacy issue. Let's start with the number one menace, the blue trucks. Some of them are not even blue, but that's the scientific term for all small trucks ran by maintenance crews. Some drivers are cautious, but others just switch on their hazard signals thinking it gives them the superpower to drive like in an action movie. They might also be tired or distracted and rushing to do their job. Since it's not possible to tell in advance who's who, you should be wary of all of them. Behind every blind corner, expect an approaching truck. You can also see scooters, some of which are there legitimately and some just found a convenient shortcut. As you're probably aware, scooters can move much more unpredictably than trucks. Of course, things get completely different when you get on the road with motor vehicles. I would advise against such routes. If you do it at all, be extra cautious about anything approaching from behind. Accidents are easily caused by driver distraction and usually have serious consequences. Most of the dangerous situations you can find yourself in involve other cyclists, so I'll get to it now before finishing with a bang. The vast majority of people are not malicious, but it is an adaptation to living in a high population density environment that going about their day, they're not particularly perceptive to the needs of others around and claim as much space as they can for themselves. Do not expect people to stay on their side of the path even when approaching blind corners. Be aware, people cycling in groups are likely to behave perspective, as if it gives them special exemption and an immunity to be oblivious to their surroundings. Overtaking. In principle, you should check beforehand if someone isn't already overtaking you. In practice, since bicycles are not equipped with mirrors, it might be difficult to spot someone approaching from behind, particularly when a speed difference is involved. Expect others to behave erratically and allow a safe margin. Don't depend on others signaling their turns because they won't. Do not expect any right-of-way rules to apply. Be prepared for someone merging in right in front of you from behind a blind corner. Cycle paths are generally wide, but there are still some narrow places, and that's where people tend to congregate. This is called the second Riverside paradox. Some are just obstructing passage, unwilling to consider they are on a public path to be shared with everyone else. Others may double down and undertake strange maneuvers as you approach. Always give them a wide berth to allow a margin of error. One common thought throughout the video is that you should be extra cautious with groups, since that's when most people completely lose situational awareness. Groups are also when you can run into extra weird situations, such as here, a group of people of which some want to go faster, some can't keep up, and here they are cycling together. Mr. Speedy in the front pushing forward, time and again, leaving behind the poor girls he presumably invited for a ride together, and I find myself in the middle of this mess. And if you ever encounter losers like a member of the group shown before trying to punish me now, I don't even really know what for, by recording me with his phone, the best solution really is just to ignore them and don't let it get to you. Come to think of it, it makes me feel like a true VIP and a celebrity, that someone decided to stop doing whatever they were doing and spend their time just on me instead. In these super weird scenarios, I think the solution is either to go much faster than you were going. You usually have way more strength and stamina than you think, so surprise yourself. Or alternatively, just stop for a break and let the whole circus pass, not just the top two clowns as in this case. Just do one or the other. Here I did both because I first started going much faster, but then had to stop when the camera battery ran out, which led to yet another weird encounter. That's also when some of these people almost got their karma trying to overtake me on the right using a pedestrian only lane, not even sure why, since there was ample space on the left, just as I was signaling my pit stop. In any case, don't get involved in altercations with losers. No point in fighting in the mud. Even as a winner, you still emerge dirty. The best strategy here is one of avoidance. Be like Sun Tzu, beat the crowds and pick a less busy time to cycle, and you're also less likely to run into situations like this, which are exceptionally rare regardless. Let's end the episode with a bang. Here's the only fall I've ever suffered in Taiwan. What happened? No other people were involved, fortunately. The bicycle path suddenly ends with steps which can be seen from afar. Wet wooden plank surface means almost no traction. U-bike brakes barely working unevenly on top of that. First, I tried braking. When I realized that didn't work, I tried turning so that I could ride down the smaller steps on the right as opposed to jumping from the huge threshold on the left, which would have almost certainly damaged the wheels on the bicycle. What could I have done to avoid it? I could have had a look at the route in advance before setting off. I now have a video of it on the channel if you want to check it out, but even beforehand there's always street view. I could have swapped the U-bike with faulty brakes for another one, but I only realized the problem after the camera was already attached, a time-consuming thing to do. I thought the brakes as they were would be good enough, especially since, as I told you previously, most U-bikes suffer from one issue or another, whether it's brakes, gears or the seat. Pick your poison. But most importantly, I could have been going even slower and stayed more concentrated. Even though I was not going very fast, it was almost the end of my trip at the time, just as the rain started getting heavier. So I was distracted and I didn't leave enough room for error. If I didn't make just one of those two mistakes, it would have saved me. It's like with falling victim to a scam. To be scammed, you must be both greedy and stupid. Everybody does something stupid from time to time. The right approach then is not to be too greedy. Similarly here, everybody gets distracted sometimes, so leave room for error is the post-mortem here. Although for the record, I am still alive, at least at the time of recording this video. As the saying goes, it doesn't matter who's right, but who's left. So be practical, even if it's not always how things should be. Broadly, based on my experience, the top risks come from either infrastructure deficiencies that you fail to notice in time, or sudden maneuvers by other people that you fail to anticipate. Among the latter, the most unpredictable and hardest to prevent are dangers created by maintenance staff, whether in their infamous blue trucks or otherwise. You will not always be fully concentrated, so always allow enough error error margin even if you get distracted when something unexpected happens. Easier said than done, but I hope this video helps you stay safe while cycling not only in Taiwan. See you in the next one.